If you can't decide or have a voice in the basic laws that govern you, are you really out of prison?
If 2/3 of those 1.5 million convicted felons go register, and if 10% of that would be 1 million, and if 10% of those people actually go vote, right? That's 100,000 new voters that we didn't have before. In the state of Florida, that's enough to swing a statewide election.
Welcome to Florida, the so-called felony disenfranchisement capital of America. That's right, more than 1.5 million people here can't vote because of felony convictions. And because of racial disparities in the criminal justice system, experts say black people are disproportionately affected. 1 in 5 African Americans in the state are barred from voting. But a ballot measure in the upcoming election could change that.
This November, voters will decide on an amendment that would let most felons vote after they get out of prison.
From prison to the polls, a group called Floridians for a Fair Democracy wants to restore the voting rights of an estimated 1.5 million convicted felons in the state of Florida.
In a key swing state like Florida, where elections have famously come down to a few hundred votes.
Look, Al Gore, George W. Bush, it came down to 537 votes. That's the difference.
This amendment could alter national politics as we know it. So I've come to Sarasota, Florida to meet a former felon who has been trying to get his voting rights restored for almost 20 years. And he's gotten so fed up with the system that he's decided he's going to try to change it altogether. Hi. Hi, Demetrius.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Backyard, so
Oh, that's okay. Hi, how are you? I'm Natasha.
I'm Sarita.
It's a typical Saturday at Demetrius Jafunza's house. Family comes over, and Demetrius inflates a water slide in the backyard for the kids to play.
And this is what they do all day long. So
All
it's gonna
day
be up
long.
the rest of the day.
Do it again, you okay?
To his kids, 41-year-old Jafunza is the perfect dad. What they don't know is that he once went to prison when he was 18 years old.
She's gonna race him first, okay?
What happened the night you were arrested?
Okay, it was actually 4 of us and
4 friends.
4 friends, and we were driving to another county just to hang out, just to meet people. At least that's what I thought it was. I did not know that I was about to make a decision that was going to affect the rest of my life the way it did. That's when I heard the plan that we was actually going to commit a robbery of a KFC. I can see one person jumping over a counter.
So you were in the car?
Yeah, and it just happened so fast. Me trying to be cool cost me all those years of my life, and then all this stuff I'm going through now.
Jafunza was arrested and was sentenced to 3 years and 11 months behind bars for armed robbery. But prison served to be a valuable time.
I buried myself in the books. I studied and I studied, and I developed a sense of values.
This way.
A few years after he got out of prison, he decided to go back to school to become a paralegal. He got married, had children, and started volunteering at different organizations. He's also continuing his education.
Right now, I'm currently enrolled at Augusta University, obtaining my master's degree in clinical mental health, as well as will be enrolling into the, ITC, Interdenominational Theological Center. So
You're going to be working on 2 masters?
2 masters, yeah, so.
That's impressive.
Well, you got a record, you got to do a little bit more than the average.
Than the average bear?
Yeah. You guys want a popsicle?
Yes!
Huh?
Yes!
Come on.
But even though he's turned his life around, he still can't vote. Why is it so important for you to get your voting rights back?
It means a lot now because I have a family. And since I have a family, I like to have a say-so in the things that affect them. I can't do it. And that's the worst thing that you can ever do is want to fight for your children, want to fight for your family, and you can't do that.
Florida is one of 3 states in the nation, along with Iowa and Kentucky, that permanently revokes voting rights for those with felony convictions. The law dates back to the post-Civil War era and the passage of the 15th Amendment, which gave black men the right to vote, and not everyone was happy about it.
Florida pushed back and resisted that for some time, and when it finally ratified a constitution in 1868, it included a felon disenfranchisement provision, which, given the fact that in the previous 3 years, Florida had passed criminal laws that were aimed at criminalizing African American people, was intended to basically evade the mandate of the 15th Amendment. So the purpose was to make it less likely that black men would be able to vote after the 15th Amendment. And it's really a shame that we're still living with those effects 150 years later, but we are.
With a white picket fence. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started, okay?
This November, Jifunza is part of a movement to change the law.
I want to thank everyone that showed up. There is something very important that we have to discuss. That's Amendment 4.
Jifunza's been holding grassroots meetings like these across the state to educate people about Amendment 4.
We really want to push for Amendment 4 because if Amendment 4 passes, that's really going to change the entire state of Florida. So I definitely want to thank you. Yes, more than 1.5 million Floridians, right, are affected and can't even vote. That means they don't even have a voice at all in the state that they live in.
They don't want to give us these second chances out of fear. There's a high percentage of people that been to prison that have been rehabilitated, and I'm one of them.
In order for Amendment 4 to pass, it needs 60% of Floridians to vote for it. And while polling shows it has a majority of support, not everyone is convinced. Richard Harrison is a leading voice against the proposed amendment.
If you've committed a serious crime, that society can say, you don't get to participate in helping to make the laws anymore. Now, we'll give you a chance to earn that right back, but you're going to have to go through a process.
Isn't that the point of completing a sentence then?
That sounds really good, but it's a little simplistic. There are many, many other consequences of being convicted of a felony, apart from the fact that you're going to go to prison. And one of the other consequences in Florida is you lose your right to vote, along with certain other civil rights.
In order to have voting rights reinstated, each person has to appear before the governor and other Florida officials to present their case. And these officials have complete discretion.
Clemency is an act of mercy. There's no right or guarantee to clemency. There's no standards. Each of us have the right opportunity to make a decision based on what we believe.
And any number of things, like a traffic violation, can disqualify you.
But it doesn't sound like you really care what the law is. You just keep violating. So I don't know what other people think.
What do you mean I keep violating?
Well, you have traffic violations.
I mean, my last speeding ticket was in 2013.
And they ask a lot of personal questions to determine if you deserve your rights back.
Do you drink?
Does he drink? Any problems with one of the kids? Y'all go to church?
I can go there, and based on the way I look, they may not even like me. Or if I don't go to church, as to one of the questions they ask, that might be a problem. You got people sitting up there, they all come from one background, one demographic, and majority of them come from money. So their outlook is going to be completely different than someone else's outlook, and that's not fair at all.
The thing you most often hear at these meetings is that you aren't deserving of your right to vote.
I deny restoration of civil rights. Deny. No, I deny restoration of civil rights. Yeah. I'm going to deny.
Out of the 30,000 people with felony convictions who've applied since Scott took office 7 years ago, only 3,000 have had their voting rights restored. The prior governor, by comparison, restored the rights of 155,000 people in his 4-year term. And then there's the question of whether partisan bias influences decisions, which was raised in a lawsuit by voting rights groups against Governor Scott and the cabinet, citing cases like these.
And why did you vote illegally?
Filed for voting rights, and actually I voted for you.
I shouldn't respond to that, so. Good. Any questions? I move to grant restoration of civil rights.
Agreed.
Agreed. Good luck with your business.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
I donate to you, but not that mattered, not that should hold any relevance.
No,
but
and the only reason I'm supporting you in this is because you're honest. I mean, you're not the greatest thing that you've done.
I move to grant restoration of civil rights.
Agree.
Governor Rick Scott declined an interview, but his office said the claim of partisan bias was completely absurd. Demetrius has gone to the clemency hearings, but he's never gotten to go before the governor to plead his case because he's still not eligible, even though he said he applied back in 2000 under then Governor Jeb Bush. He says he's checked online and called and never been able to get an answer.
So you can actually check online what your status is.
Right. We're at the Office of Clemency, Florida Commission on Offender Review.
Okay, so you go to this website.
Mm-hmm. And you type in your first and last name, so I just did that.
Okay.
Your date of birth, and search database.
Record not found.
Exactly.
And you've called.
I've called.
And you've tried to follow up.
Try to follow up.
So
this is what I get. I don't know.
And it's been 18 years.
Mm-hmm. What's the point? Now, I can go for a job interview and they can pull up my record, no problem at all. But when I go check the status of my eligibility to vote, record is not found.
It's not in the system.
It's not in the system.
There's a backlog of 10,000 cases. Average wait time to be seen by the board is 14 years. When we called the Florida Commission on Offender Review, they told us they received Demetrius's application in 2012, though he said he sent it in more than a decade earlier.
Our call takers are with other applicants at this time. We hope to speak with you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is the process broken?
No, the process is not broken. I think it's slow. It's sometimes painfully slow. There's nothing bad with taking a case-by-case approach. But if you're going to take a case-by-case approach, then you have to be willing to dedicate the time and resources necessary to move those things along.
But changing the policy hasn't been easy in a state with such high political stakes. Elections in the key battleground state of Florida can be tight, and adding 1.5 million new voters to the rolls could have a dramatic impact.
If it passes, I think that is the effect that it's going to have on it is changing the entire direction of where Florida was going. I mean, it's gonna you're gonna have more players in the process of decision making.
The difference in the popular vote in the last presidential election between President Trump and Senator Clinton, statewide the difference was only 112,000 votes. And yes, there is a political component to this, and one side seems to be much more interested in it than the other at the moment.
For Demetrius, voting is about being able to exercise his basic rights.
I mean, I think being able to vote is the number one thing that you should be able to do. I mean, if you go to work, you pay taxes, you raise a family, you should have a say-so to things that affect you. I mean, if you're taking money out my income, I should be able to have a say-so in everything. And being able to vote gives you that opportunity to do that.